Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Week 2 Top 25 review. Um, I kind of covered a lot of these games. Not really fully covered, but definitely got straight to some of these games that happened. But these are my predictions and then the final scores. Like I just go over it. Let's just get straight into this thing without yapping anymore. Like and subscribe, help a comment always helps. Let's do this. So the first game of the week, Texas at Michigan. I don't know why anybody should have expected another result. The only reason Michigan should have done anything in this game was because it was at Michigan. I said they'd win 34-12. They won 31 to, or I'm sorry, I said they'd win 34-14. They won 31-12. Domination by Texas, and to be honest, it was like expected. Michigan is not that good of a football team going into this year. They're just the defending national champions, and they have a very good defense. Still probably going to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten, but definitely not, top 10 worthy. Definitely not playoff worthy. Um, I want to say like they didn't play bad offensively because they had 286 yards to Texas 389, but they had 3 turnovers, and also a lot of those drives kind of came at the end of the game when the game was already over. Really, Texas just locked them up defensively. That was expected. I mean, Michigan's offense is not good. It's just their defense, but even then, they couldn't stop Texas and Quinn Ewers. They're probably just not a top 15 worthy team. Bowling Green at Penn State. I think at this point in the video, I was like, in the prediction video, I said, why am I even predicting this game? Give me Penn State. Well, that was a stupid sentence because Bowling Green balled out. They almost won this football game, just losing it at the end. They were up 24-20 for Penn State got up, and then Nick Singleton had a breakaway run after I think a turnover to put Penn State up by 10. And then the 3 points kind of to bring it to 7 and try to get like an onside kick or something. Didn't go their way. They lose by 7, but still big time performance by Bowling Green, and we really got to start expecting these games, these road game upsets from these teams, because as we all know, there's one later in this video that really broke the whole world, and people want to give Penn State crap, including me at first, because this is kind of unheard of, but people want to give Penn State crap for almost losing this game. The better part is that they won this game. That's the more impressive part, because you could be like another team on this list that didn't win this game, has a hideous loss on their record. But when these teams when they get these opportunities, dude, these kids play with so much passion to the other team that thinks they're the shit and nobody like Bowling Green is going to touch them. And it leads to a game like this where it's actually fought well football. And Bowling Green definitely had trained for this game. They were ready for this game. They were not going to let it slip them by. We got to start respecting these tinier teams, because there's multiple examples on this list as we get in there. But Penn State, they take this one in a close battle, well-fought battle, but they take this one. Arkansas, Oklahoma State. Originally, I said, Oklahoma State was going to stomp this team, and I don't know why anybody's picking Arkansas. And by halftime, I was really, really sweating it because Oklahoma State looked awful. But they put together a ridiculous I didn't change the score. Damn it. 31-92 in double overtime. I put the double overtime, but I didn't fucking change the score. Final score was 31-39. Oklahoma State took the W, so just pretend it's there, please. I mean, Oklahoma State definitely looked awful in the first half, but they figured it out and more in the halftime locker room, because they came back out and they ended up playing Arkansas all the way till the end. Arkansas tried to keep things together, but ultimately they lost it in overtime. Oklahoma State had an opportunity to win the game with a field goal. They missed it. Arkansas's kicker as well, they struggled to hit field goals. He missed 2 in the game, as well as there was a 4th and 4 that they chose to try and go for it rather than kick the field goal because they didn't want to rely on their kicker, which was a stupid decision because they lost 31-39. Who's to tell that that wasn't a different outcome if you hit your field goals? But ultimately, that's going to happen in a football game. And Oklahoma State, they balled out in the second half. The first half, only points were a pick 6, but Arkansas had 648 yards of offense to Oklahoma State's 385. It was just Arkansas kept dropping the damn ball on the field, as well as they kept getting bad penalties. They also won the possession game, but there were so many times I would look up at my TV screen. I think I mentioned this in my Arkansas-Oklahoma State video. There were so many times I looked up at my TV because they just were talking about how the ball was loose on the field. And it wasn't only it didn't only go to Oklahoma State. There were literally times where they fumbled it and they got back on it. And it's just like, you guys got to hold on to the ball, secure the ball. The difference in the game really was both teams had a lot of passing yards. Taylon Green for Arkansas, he obviously got his passing yards in both quarters. To Alan Bowman, and also overtime. Alan Bowman really got his passing yards in the second half and overtime. Ollie Gordon, though, had a horrible game for rushing. It looks somewhat better at the end of the day with 17 carries, 49 yards, 1 touchdown. It's still really not good, but it looks at least somewhat better. That's still, it was a lot worse for Ollie Gordon. Versus Jaquindon Jackson's run game, who 24 carries, 149 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So Arkansas, and that was in the first quarter. That was all in the first quarter. Alan Bowman, though, he really rallied the team together in the second half and in overtime. And Oklahoma State, they did not give up. That was the most important part of this game, was when you go into halftime like that, down, devastated, Arkansas is giving you a run for your money, and they did not give up, which I think probably led to them winning this game. Was they didn't quit. They kept playing football, and they made a huge comeback, and I was very, very impressed with Oklahoma State. Kansas State at Tulane. Kansas State probably got away with a lucky one here, and Tulane was definitely angry that they were semi-robbed of a game, a victory. Now, who's to tell? Well, first off, my prediction. I think I said in my video Tulane would give Kansas State some trouble, but I wasn't expecting this much trouble. Tulane is definitely a good football team. But the last play of the game, they threw a pass to the outside for a touchdown to their receiver. Just a simple play. But they got called for an offensive pass interference, which led to, I think, the very next play being an interception, if I remember properly. I wasn't too invested in this game, but I clicked in when the pass interference penalty was called. But there was quite a few offensive pass interference on this drive. There was one earlier. That was defensive pass interference. My fault. Not offensive pass interference. But it was first and goal at the Kansas State 2-yard line. Offensive pass interference gets called. They get put all the way back to the Kansas State 16. No, they throw an incomplete pass. Then they take a timeout. Then he throws an interception when he was trying to go to the end zone. And Kansas State gets the ball. They get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which is messed up. I don't know why you're taunting like that. But Kansas State definitely walked away. I haven't really looked back at it since the game. I didn't get to see the offensive pass interference since I clicked in right as it was right after it had been called. But, maybe they were robbed. Maybe they weren't, But ultimately, Kansas State definitely struggled with Tulane. But is it a bad struggle? I don't think it was a bad struggle. I don't think it was. I think this was a good win for Kansas State on the road because Tulane is actually a decent football team. It might be pretty good in the AAC. Georgia Tech at Syracuse. Sound the alarm, ladies and gentlemen. It's a perfect prediction for college football guy. It is a perfect spot on prediction. Um, I thought I had a lot of nerve at the time taking Syracuse over Georgia Tech, but when I was watching the game, Syracuse was up like 31-14 at a time. Yeah, 31-14. Kyle McCord balled out. He went 32 for 46, 381, 4 touchdowns. Then let's see, he also had some running yards. He had 3 carries for 10 yards. I think one of those was like a big third down conversion. And he balled out and he's also not a running quarterback whatsoever. He balled out for Syracuse and really it was like technically his second game, but his first game against a real opponent. And he hands Georgia Tech a loss. Georgia Tech is bumped out of the top 25, which obviously was going to happen, but Syracuse wasn't put in the top 25. And I do think these teams are going to be pretty good football teams. But I said they would win 31-28. They won 31-28. Kind of a random perfect prediction. But there was a lot of games this week that I was almost on the dime. Like Texas versus Michigan. Michigan gets that 2-point conversion, and maybe Texas kicks another field goal in the game. Like the game, it's another perfect prediction. There's some other ones later in the video that we'll get to that are very, very close, but like this next one doesn't really count because I didn't put any effort into this prediction. I just said they would kill him, but I was only off by 3 points on each team. But it's a blowout. You get the massive benefit of knowing it's going to be an absolute collaboration by Georgia. And this one, I originally didn't think this one. Now this isn't like an example of me almost having a perfect prediction. No, this is quite the opposite. I said Notre Dame would absolutely kill this NIU team, but if you saw one of my other videos, NIU and what I talked about earlier, NIU pulled probably one of the biggest upsets in college football history. Riley Leonard looked like shit, and ultimately NIU was the better football team here. The line was 28.5 for Notre Dame. The over-under was 46.5, and the attendance for this game was 77,500 plus. Notre Dame, their head coach is starting to make a name for himself in losing to these tiny teams. He opened up the year with a road win against Texas A&M, but who have been the two of the 3 most notorious teams for being extremely overranked every single year. It has been Notre Dame and Texas A&M. And I guess Notre Dame just took the battle against Texas A&M, and they once again found a way to fool all of us because Texas A&M looked like shit in that game. And now Notre Dame just lost to NIU. Is NIU really that good of a football team, though? I mean, they performed like it for sure, but let's see how long they're going to last with their schedule. They still have to play at NC State. They have to play at Bowling Green, who performed really well against Penn State, How long is this team going to last before they start to lose games? Or are they going to go undefeated? Nobody's going to be able to tell, but how long is NIU going to last? That's the question. Notre Dame they've taken their loss. At Purdue's not going to be an easy game, but they get quite a significantly easier schedule as the season goes on up until that last game of the year, where they have to play at USC, where they're currently favored right now. I literally, if I could bet, I would place a bet on USC right now because 3.5 for Notre Dame at USC is just ridiculous. That's just insane. But Notre Dame, their head coach is starting to build up a bad reputation of losing to these small schools because he did it that one year to Marshall. and now this one. And he has these super highly ranked teams. This one we thought proved themselves, and then all of a sudden they lose a stinker like this. And they just got outperformed, too. I mean, NIU, no turnovers. Both teams split the same amount of penalty yards. The only thing about NIU was they had a failed fourth down conversion, but Riley Leonard had 2 interceptions, which was not good. And NIU had 100 more yards of offense than NIU. And the game started off like it was going to be a high-scoring game. Both teams exchanging touchdowns. NIU going down the field and kicking a field goal, 2 of them after one of Riley Leonard's interceptions. And then we really start to exchange points. Now, there was a missed field goal earlier in the game by Notre Dame, but there was also a missed field goal by NIU earlier in the game. Touchdown by Notre Dame to put them up. Exchange punts. Then there was a failed fourth down conversion on, let's see, where did they fail this? They failed this 4th and 2 conversion on the Notre Dame 30, which probably wasn't necessary. But then Notre Dame threw a pick. That was what it was. They threw a pick, which gave the ball back to NIU so they could kick a field goal, go up by 2, and then Notre Dame missed a field goal. So this could have been one of those scary games. This really was lining up like it should have been one of those scary games for a top 5 team. But the problem was Riley Leonard threw an interception right at the end of the game, which gave the ball back to NIU, put them in winning position, which they kicked a field goal, and then they tried to get their kicker out for a 62-yarder. And even if NIU didn't block the field goal, even if they didn't block the field goal, he was not hitting that field goal. He was not hitting that from 62 yards out after already missing in the game. Now, I don't know what happened on that field goal, if he straight up just missed or if it was also blocked, but, dude, sorry, I'm yawning. Dude straight up just, that was not going to happen. It was not going to happen in a million years, but NIU got in there and blocked it anyways. And they took a win, which probably wasn't supposed to happen now that you look at it. Now that you see the missed field goals and the poorly timed interception, the poorly performed interception by Riley Leonard, that probably shouldn't have happened, but it did. And now NIU's in the top 25 and Notre Dame drops 18, and they should. You know what? That's their punishment. They're probably still the better football team than NIU, but ultimately they should be punished, and they should not touch the top 10 again after a loss like this. Baylor at Utah. This one we got to talk about. Because I said, also a game that was pretty good. I mean, I almost got Baylor's score. I was a point off. But Utah's score, I was a little bit less. What happened here? Why did Utah perform so poorly offensively? All 23 of their points came in the first half pretty much. First half and 5 minutes. Because they didn't score any more points from 5 minutes and 21 seconds in the second quarter. Why? What happened? Cam Rising left the game with a hand injury. So this was pretty much just 23-0. Then Baylor's attempt to, come back, which did not work because Utah's defense is too good. But Cam Rising left the game. That's the story of this one, with a hand injury, probably to his throwing hand. Either he could have gone back in and it's not serious, they just chose not to because they were winning. Want to keep your quarterback healthy for the love of God. Or, he actually just had to leave the game and he'll be out for a week. Who knows? But Cam Rising is out. He is hurt. Who knows how long he's hurt for? But Utah has to play at Utah State, which Utah State, dude, I don't think you should blink twice. Even though they just received an absolute beating from USC, do not blink twice. You know what? It's a road game, and these upsets keep on happening. If Cam Rising is not back in the game, then Utah's not gonna perform that well. They might win with a defensive performance and maybe some defensive scores, but they are not going to win easily. Cam Rising is the X factor for this team. You have to have Cam Rising if you want Utah to perform well. That's literally what the story has been for this team. But he is hurt right now. Who knows how serious? Who knows what? Who knows this? But Cam Rising is hurt. Iowa State at Iowa. Back to the perfect predictions. I was literally off by 1 point by both teams, which is absolutely so annoying because Iowa could have, they could have kicked a field goal. They could have kicked an extra point and gone for, and just made it 20. But instead, they chose to go for the 2-point conversion, which put it at 19. And Iowa State would win off of 2 field goals. So they won 20-19, not 21-20. Are you kidding me? Like, it's like, wow. Well, I don't think a lot of people picked Iowa State over Iowa in that game. So that was still, I'll pat myself on the shoulder here. That was a W prediction by me. That was an absolutely W risk prediction right here. Because not a lot of people thought Iowa State was going to do this. But for it to be off by just a point stings, man. Because, I'd be a fucking prodigy if I got this game 21-20. If I got that shit on the dime. But not all things go your way. But still, I'm going to pat myself on the back for this one. W prediction. Virginia at Wake Forest. This is our first, this is our first non-top 25 game that I chose to cover. I said this one is going to be a huge game for these two teams with the ACC starting to open up. Teams are starting to lose. Even Georgia Tech just lost. And for a little bit, I was looking like I was completely wrong. Wake Forest was up 30-17. I said they would win 35-21. Wake Forest at a time was up 30-17. But Virginia rallied back in the second half, and they managed to walk away with a 1-point victory over Wake Forest and a very good road win for Virginia there. A very, very good road win. Because now the only teams that stand in their way is Syracuse, Boston College, Cal, Louisville, Miami, maybe Clemson, maybe Virginia Tech. But as of right now, Pitt, North Carolina, Stanford, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Duke, they don't look like the best teams. And it's all up to Virginia to see how highly they can place in the ACC. They have to play, they play Maryland, they host them, and Maryland just lost to Michigan State in their home stadium. So to all the people that had Maryland in their top 25, you guys were just wrong. Losing to Michigan State in your home stadium, that is an L. And the Michigan State quarterback kept throwing picks. He had 3 interceptions as well as, both teams had almost. Michigan State had 100 yards of penalties. Maryland had 80. But that's not the game we're talking about. Michigan State had 500 yards of offense to Maryland's 350. It was just turnovers. That's why they didn't beat them more. So looking at it now, Virginia definitely has the ability to beat Maryland. It's really, do they have the ability to beat Coastal Carolina, who is seemingly handling opponents? They're just outscoring opponents. So if Virginia could manage to win those games, they get to host Boston College, who's ranked right now, and they get to host Louisville. And then they go on the road to Clemson. I don't think they'll win that. But past that, they really control their destiny. Even right now, the Notre Dame game, the road game against Notre Dame, that looks doable for Virginia. And a lot of people might call me crazy, but do not sleep on Virginia, man. Don't sleep on them. They are a team that is a team in college football. Can you believe that? They're a team in college football. I just think that they're a little underrated. People instantly want to say this team is just such a shitter program. But I think it is definitely time that they put together a good football season. I think at least they make a bowl game. That's the floor for Virginia, is a bowl game. But the high is undefeated. No. The high is like 3 losses or something. due to their schedule, due to the team that they have. I think Virginia's being slept on. USF at Alabama. Why even predict it, right? Well, USF gave this team definitely a run for their money, but they did that last year. And the game pretty much ended up being finished the same way, except not this bad of a domination. I think Alabama put on like 28 points or something. They put on like 28 points in the fourth quarter, which is just that's just insane. Yeah, they put on 28 points. They really just were like, okay, enough is enough, and just destroyed them. Ooh, bad voice crack. I don't know if you guys heard that. We're gonna gloss right over that. Kansas at Illinois. Another stop where we need to talk. I had Kansas winning this one by a large margin. Obviously, we know Illinois won this one. And it's looking like it's going to be a long season with me and Kansas because if you guys watch my Big 12 prediction video, I think I have Kansas being a one-loss team. I think I have them being a one-loss team, if not undefeated. Why did Kansas lose this one? Well, the simple reason is their quarterback is not performing like he used to. Jalen Daniels is performing very, very bad. He keeps throwing the ball deep, and it's not there. He had 3 interceptions in the game, as well as the whole offense had 4 turnovers. He was 18 for 32, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. And really the only reason Kansas is competing right now is because of their defense and their running back, Devin Neal. Devin Neal is a great running back, but their quarterback is not performing. As well as Kansas also had a failed 4th down conversion, so 5 turnovers if you count it. 2, Illinois 1. Kansas had 100 more yards of offense, or 50 more yards of offense, more first downs, split third down efficiency, 5 more yards in penalties, but Illinois is only winning by 6 points. Illinois is not a top 25 team. Kansas still should be a top 25 team, but of course they lost. They lost. And my question is when you're at the Illinois 32 at the start of the game, why do you go for it on 4th down? Take your 3. So here's what happens. Kansas throws an interception on the first drive of the game. Illinois gets a field goal, 14 plays, 62 yards. Illinois gets a field goal at the Kansas 5 on 4th and 2. They choose not to go for it. Kansas goes down the field, gets a field goal. Illinois turns the ball over. This is your shining golden opportunity to make up for what you lost. You threw an interception on the first drive of the game, which led to an Illinois field goal. They turn the ball over. You're in field goal range. You take the field goal, right? No, they go for it on 4th down, which takes away 3 easy points, which honestly is a motivation. Not only would it have made a difference in the game by potentially making them not have to go for a touchdown or something like that, and just go for a field goal to send it to at least overtime. But it's also a motivation booster for your team. You're up. You didn't lose on 4th down. You're up. And Illinois doesn't get a huge 4th down stop. Also, like a pick 6 was one of Jalen Daniels right before half, like literally right before half. A pick 6 all the way to the house. I mean, seriously. Interception, like, that didn't amount to anything, but still. And the final drive of the game was a fumble. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so that fumble doesn't really count because it was at the very end of the game. It was at the very end of the game, probably like a pitch play or something. That fumble doesn't count as anything. But see, they were at the Illinois 46. If they weren't trying to go for the touchdown, make big plays and stuff, right? They might have actually been able to get in a field goal range, kick a field goal, send it to overtime. It's like, why are you going for it on 4th down there? I'm just mad. Kansas has made me look stupid because you try to have faith in a football team, and then their quarterback turns out to be a pile of shit. Now, give Jalen Daniels time. This is just one game in the season. Sometimes these teams lose these games, and they turn around and win 9 in a row. Give Kansas time. Maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe Jalen Daniels will figure things out. But this was a bad loss for them. Their quarterback needs to figure out his shit. Their running back needs to keep performing at his high-level ability, which he should absolutely keep on doing. He's a good running back. And ultimately, Kansas they just made a fool of themselves against Illinois because Illinois is not going to be a good football team in the Big Ten. Colorado at Nebraska. I don't even want to talk about this one because I didn't care enough to watch it when I saw that Colorado was down 3-28. I said their offense would perform decently against Cornhuskers, maybe put up some points at the end, but that wasn't even the case. I mean, Shedeur looked like shit, left the game with 2 minutes left. He's putting the blame on his team, putting the blame on his O-line. I really don't like the Colorado hate to me is just like what they want. Like it's like, okay, that's what they everybody hates on Colorado. Like whatever. You just look at it too much. You pay attention to it too much. Don't pay attention to it. Just like it doesn't matter. But now I'm really starting to hate on Colorado. Not Deion Sanders, but mainly his kids. Like, yes, Deion Sanders, but not as much as I hate his kids. Or hate on his kids. Because Shedeur, when he wins, he boasts, he brags, and it's like, okay, you won. You get the right to do that. But then when you lose, you look like a little bitch, and you blame your team, and you leave the game early, and like you can't handle the heat. You can't handle it after such a loss against Nebraska. Like it's just childish. Like, how old are you? How old are you, doggy? Right? Like it's just after seeing that, it makes me just like cringe at my screen. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? But ultimately, I thought it was really funny that they were listening to his rap song after they beat him. Because, like, why does dude have a rap song, too? Like, come on, man. Dial in. You're not a celebrity. You're fucking Deion's son, bro. But whatever. I don't want to talk about Colorado. Tennessee at North Carolina State. This one, yeah, I pretty much figured. I mean, this one was a lot worse than we expected to be, but I figured, right? I gave NC State I gave them a lot of space here. I said that I anticipated that this would be a game that NC State, they would get beat up, but NC State would manage to put on points, maybe trick plays and stuff, and they would give this one their all, but Tennessee is just going to be the better team. That wasn't even close to the case. I mean, Tennessee straight up just put this team in the pounder. NC State was not supposed to be ranked at the start of the year. Yeah, they just weren't supposed to be ranked. This wasn't at NC State. It turns out, I guess it was at a neutral site. They're just going to play all these random-ass games at neutral sites and stuff. So, yeah. I think it was at a neutral site at least. I mean, it definitely seemed like there was a shitload of Tennessee fans there. That's for sure. So I don't know if it was, I don't know if this was actually at a neutral site, but if I go down here, I don't know the name of NC State. Maybe it was. Maybe it was actually at North Carolina State. Bank of America Stadium. That might be an NFL stadium. There is a lot. That is the Panthers football stadium. So the only real football that's being played in North Carolina right now, for the Panthers at least, for Panthers fans, was this game, and North Carolina State got absolutely pummeled in it. Yeah, bad loss for North Carolina State. Very good win for Tennessee, solidifying their presence as a football team. And an SEC contender because they're up to number 7 right now. They're up to number 7. That's very, very good for Tennessee moving forward. They determine their future, as well as Missouri is up to 6 and Ole Miss is at 5. There's a lot of SEC teams in the top 7. There's a lot of SEC teams that are the best in the country right now and definitely look like they're the best in the country. So disappointing to the other conferences like the Big 12 and stuff and the Big 10. Even though the Big 10 has Ohio State, but still it's just like, damn, bro. 6 of the top 7 teams are SEC schools. God damn. But Appalachian State at Clemson, I said this one was going to be close. App State does this shit, but I thought Clemson was going to walk away with it. Wrong. 56 points at halftime. It's a domination for Clemson. What needs to be said there? Boise State at Oregon. I anticipated that Oregon or that Boise State's offense was going to be able to do fairly well against the Oregon defense, but really it was just a run game. I mean, their quarterback was 17 for 40, 148 yards, and a touchdown pass. Like, really, guys, look at that. That is Oregon's defense locking down the pass game. 17 for 40. This guy couldn't even complete 50% of his passes. And he was just throwing the ball all game. The Oregon defense definitely put this guy on lockdown. Dylan Gabriel was better, to say the least. 18 for 21, 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. The running back for Oregon, 17 carries, 102 yards. But where did all the points come from, really? Because Dylan Gabriel only had 2 of those touchdowns. He had a running touchdown. 11 carries for negative 15 yards. That's probably including a bunch of sacks he took, but it doesn't look like he had a terrible game running considering he has a touchdown. 3 turnovers. Yeah, 3. Oh, Dylan Gabriel fumbled. Patrick Herbert fumbled. And then I don't know. That thing is really hard to look at. But where did Oregon get all their points from? Boise State had more offensive yards. Oregon had 2 fumbles. Boise State had 0 turnovers. Oregon had more yards of penalties. So how did they get all these points? It feels like some are spawning in out of nowhere. James Ferguson, punt. Tez Johnson, punt return. Yeah, Tez Johnson, punt return. That's where 7 points spawned from. And there was a missed Boise State field goal in the game. Big difference. I don't know. I wasn't really able to watch this one that well. Final score was 34-37. I don't know about Oregon, on one side of things, you got Boise State, who a lot of people are saying is going to be the group of 12 team to make the college football playoff. But on the other side of things, it's like Oregon has struggled twice now with they've struggled twice now with unranked, seemingly easy opponents. And I don't care, after game 2 of struggling, even if this team is going to be the group of 5 team to make it, Boise State is still not even close to the talent level that Oregon has. And Oregon is really struggling to put this game away. Now, everybody, including Penn State, even Notre Dame, they struggled. And teams will struggle in these games. But for Oregon to do it twice, it's starting to look a little icky. But Boise State, probably the group of 5 team to make it to the college football playoff. And Idaho might actually be a sleeper team in whatever the conference they're in. They actually are performing to a level that they haven't performed to in a while. So maybe Oregon just got the bad pack. Maybe they just got the hard opponents. I don't know who they play next. Oh, they play at Oregon State, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there. That's going to be a very interesting rivalry game to watch. But if they kill them, then maybe we'll know a little bit more. And our final game, Mississippi State at Arizona. I said Mississippi State as ASU. I said ASU would win 23-20. I said Arizona because I was looking at the touchdown right here that said Arizona. I said this game would be close with ASU walking away. It was close with ASU walking away, but guys, I mean, if you watch this game, ASU was up 30-3, and Kenny Dillingham put it into the best terms. Sam Leavitt for ASU didn't have his best game ever. He definitely started off hot, but really the name of the game was the running game for ASU. They've had an absolutely dominant running game. Cameron Scadaboo, 33 carries for 262 yards, as well as he was the leading receiver. 3 receptions, 35 yards. Sam Leavitt only was 10 for 20, 69 yards over the air, but he also ran the ball. He ran for 68 yards and 11 carries for 2 touchdowns. So he was playing more dual threat, and definitely ASU was running the ball. The problem is, and why Mississippi State started to put together a comeback was, first off, One of their drives was just put together by ASU penalties that got them all the way to the end zone. Another one was an 80-yard failure of a tackle by the safety of ASU. It was like the guy spun off of his defender, and then the safety was supposed to get him, and the safety literally just was too close and got outran by the Mississippi State receiver. Watching that was really embarrassing because it was bad defense right there. But other than that, ASU was stellar. And ultimately, when you're up at the pretty much end of the first or at the end of the third quarter, when you're up 30 to 3, you're just running the ball. You're not passing the ball. So Mississippi State starts to put together some interesting comeback. And now you need your quarterback to throw the ball. But they're going to be ready to throw the ball. They've got momentum, and you haven't been letting Sam Leavitt throw the ball. You've just been running it the whole game. And he starts incompleting passes, and instantly fans want to be like, oh, he played awfully. And in hindsight, yes, he played bad in terms of passing. But really, you can't expect your quarterback to just, start slinging the rock at any given time after literally not using his arm almost the whole game except for screen passes. Now that you need him to throw the ball down the field and make shit happen, it's not happening, and he's incompleting passes and stuff. Well, you barely gave him any attempts to throw the ball. I'm sure if they give Sam the opportunity to throw the ball, get into a flow, get into a rhythm, as Kenny Dillingham stated in an interview or a press conference, then he will perform better. But this is the second game. I know you guys see 23 to 30, but this was a put together attempt at a comeback by Mississippi State. That wasn't going to happen. I mean, ASU had a breakaway run at the end of the game where Cameron Scadaboo, he could have taken it to the end zone and absolutely padded his stats, but instead he just went to the ground and ended the game. It could have been 37 to 23. Could have been even lower scoring for Mississippi State if the defense didn't just terribly mess up on that 80-yard touchdown. But the game was over. The fans were gone. The game was over. They were just running the ball to get the game over with, and Mississippi State made it closer than it needs to be. ASU absolutely dominated this Mississippi State team. Now they have to go hit the road and play Texas State, and I'm very curious because I don't know about Texas State. I don't know if they're good or if they're not. Their first week, they beat a team called Lamar by 7 points. But in their second week, they pounded UTSA, which I'd think UTSA would be a better team than Lamar, but you just don't know. I'm very interested to see because right now ASU's schedule, if they beat Texas State, they have to go at Texas Tech, which Texas Tech does not look like they're a good football team. Barely beating Abilene Christian and then getting stomped by Washington State. I mean, getting absolutely pounded. Then they get to host Kansas and host Utah. Kansas, their quarterback cannot perform against a solid defense. ASU is one of the best defenses in the country right now. I'm not saying that just because that's my opinion. That's something people have actually put down on their charts. That is some people believe that ASU, I don't just say some people as in fans, people who actually do football sites and actually rake defenses and stuff have ASU as some of the best defense in the country. How is Jalen Daniels going to perform against a defense that literally keeps getting defensive scores? He can't stop turning the ball over. He's going to play against a good defense on the road. How is he going to perform then? Utah, is Cam Rising's injury serious? I don't want to speak too early, and I know they're my team, but keep your eyes out for ASU. Not because of them just being a super good football team and they're underrated. I do think they're semi-underrated, but, I understand why people want to instantly dog on ASU. But they definitely have a easier schedule right now. They have an easier schedule. And for one of the hardest schedules in the country, this first half is definitely the first half that they need to put shit together because the second half, they have to play at Oklahoma State, at Kansas State, and at U of A, which are all going to be difficult games. Maybe not the U of A one because they're struggling, but the rest of them are going to be hard games. There's even games mixed in there like UCF that are not going to be easy, or even BYU. But I'm just saying, keep your eyes out for ASU if you haven't already. If you even made it this far, I love you. But yeah, I guess that's all for this review. I'll post my record right now, or when I post this video, I'll post my record on predictions in the comments. This was a very good week of predictions for me, considering I got a perfect prediction. That made me very happy on Saturday. That made my day. But enough yapping. A like and subscribe and comment always helps. That's all from me. Adios.